Hey, welcome to your practice today. So, in this practice, we are going to be working on connection through our core. And I want us to start to broaden our idea of what the core actually is and what muscles are included with that. Oftentimes, when you say core, people are thinking just the abdominals. But really, when we're engaging with our core, that is including our hips, our pelvis, our pelvic floor, some of our back muscles, as well as the abdominals. And it's important that we start to focus on how the body works kind of together as a unit as opposed to just isolating individual muscles. So then we can create more harmony, better function, and just better balance of what's happening within the body. So today is going to be a strengthening of our core and pelvic floor. If you are in your postpartum recovery period, if you've never had a baby, this practice is still needed and effective because having good pelvic floor connection, whether you're a man or woman, is needed. Okay, so we are going to get started here. I have a prop today where we're going to be using a small Pilates ball. If you don't have something like this, you can definitely use a small pillow or even a rolled up towel. Essentially just something where you can squeeze in between the legs just to get a little bit more connection, a little bit more engagement through the inner thighs and the lower abdominals. Okay, Jasper is apparently joining us as well. And I'm going to have us start laying down on our backs. So once you get down onto your back, look out, bub. Let's start with the ball just in between the knees where it's kind of holding place. You're not squeezing on it yet. You're just letting it rest and hang out. The hands are going to come on to kind of rib and belly area. And I want you to see if you could just relax your shoulders down. You start to feel your feet anchored down onto the mat. And even letting your eyes close if that feels comfortable. So just taking these first few moments just to kind of anchor into our space, start to feel the body connected down onto the ground. Be aware of what sensations you might notice, you might feel, whether it's tension or pressure or a feeling of just, relaxing. If this is your first time laying down, today and you're just getting this break, then enjoy it. Kind of be in your body and feel this sense of release. Notice your breath moving through. So it doesn't have to be any specific type of breathing. You don't have to be breathing, perfectly with the exact inhale and matching that length on the exhale, but really just following how the breath is moving through your body, where you feel it through nostrils and through throat, through the chest, the ribs and the belly. And when you have your hands on your body, when you have your hands on chest or ribs or belly area, it's a really nice way to get that feedback and kind of somatic connection of how the breath is moving through and where you feel it. Good, all right. So from here, I'm going to have us just flutter our eyes back open, just having that little respite. And then we're going to keep the ball in between the inner thighs, and I want you to keep your hands onto the front of the body, but we're going to shift them down a little bit. So I like to take my peace sign fingers, find the front of the hip bones, and we're going to move through a couple pelvic tilts just so we can start to wake up this connection between our low back and our hips. So on your exhale, the hips are going to tilt towards you. So you're going to feel your low back flatten down towards the ground. And on the inhale, the hips tilt away. Exhale, we tilt towards. And then inhale, tilt away. Now notice here, as you're tilting front to back, again, just what sensations you feel through the body. Do you feel that you're engaging your butt muscles more to give that tuck and tilt? Or do you feel it more through your abdominals? Again, are not trying to even guide you into doing this any super specific way as using a specific muscle, but I just want you to be aware of what muscles you do feel firing and engaging. All right, we'll take that one more time. Exhale, tilt. And then inhale, hips move away. All right, relaxing more into that neutral spine position. Hands are going to come back onto like the rib and belly area. And now we're going to start to feel this relationship between our inner thighs engaging with the ball as we start to draw up from the pelvic floor and the abdominals, our TA, our transverse abdominal connection, kick in. So we're getting a little bit more dynamic in regards to what is all working together. So I'm going to have you take a breath in through your nose. And on your exhale, squeeze the ball as you draw the low belly back and up. And you'll inhale again, breathe in, let the tension go. And let's blow that breath out through the mouth. Good. All right, take it a few more times. Exhaling. We should feel those ribs start to corset inward on that exhale. Last two. Good. And then last one here. Drawing a string up through the center of the body, lifting of the pelvic floor and the low belly. And then inhale, gently relaxing, releasing. Okay. So did you feel that again more prominently through your inner thighs versus your pelvic floor or your lower abdominal engagement? If you're like, oh, it was kind of hard to tell, it's all good. We're going to practice with some other variations. So I'm going to have you turn onto your side, let's say right side. And then as you come to press yourself up, we're going to come to bring the ball back in between the inner thighs. And essentially it's going to be the same exercise, but now we're sitting upright versus laying down, which anytime you move positions, breathing laying down, doing an exercise sitting up versus standing, even if it's the exact same exercise, you're probably going to have a little bit different engagement. So we're going to see how this feels. Balls back in between the inner thighs. I'm trying to keep these hips pretty stacked, so meaning this top hip is not rolling back. If being up on your forearm feels uncomfortable in any way, you could also be down here with your head supported, but you're just not going to get as much engagement here from that side body, so be aware of that. All right, so I'm going to bring my hand to my lower abdominal so I can just kind of feel again that connection on the exhale. So I breathe in through my nose. And then on the exhale, squeeze the ball. Feel these top ribs hug in and down. And then breathing in. And then exhale, we squeeze. Good. All right. So again, as you're continuing this with a few more times, I want you to notice where you feel this most prominently in your body. Is it that squeeze on the ball? Can you bring that awareness and sensation to pelvic floor engagement? Do you feel like a lot of the breath moving? So we're not indicating any areas being like perfect or right or wrong, just starting to practice some noticing, some awareness of what we're feeling. Good. Let's take that one more time. All right, really nice. So I'm going to grab the ball. Go ahead and press yourself all the way up now onto your hands and knees. The ball is going to go back in between the inner thighs, and we're going to come down into our quadruped position. So we're on our hands and knees. To be able to hold the ball, the knees are going to go right underneath the knees are going to be like a little bit narrower than hips. So if you feel like you're kind of a little closer, that's okay. So we have fingers spread nice and wide, and I want you to feel your chest push away from the ground. So we have space across the front of the body, back of the shoulders. Now, when we're squeezing the ball, I want you to see if you can minimize the rounding here of your spine. Try to keep that spine nice and long in more of a neutral position, and really focusing on that TA, which is like the TA muscles, your transverse abdominal muscles, which is like the big sheath of abdominal wall that helps really cinch and draw the abdominals through to center. So same thing, we're going to breathe in And then exhale. Lift and engage. Good. We breathe in, release the tension from the ball. And then exhale. Good. Breathing in. And exhale. All right, let's take it 2 more times. And then last one here. Again, trying to minimize rounding through the spine to get that lift and engagement. All right, and then we'll relax. Grab the ball, go ahead and sit back onto your knees for a moment and just take a few wrist rotations while we're here. Even though we weren't on our hands for very long, it's just nice to mobilize through those joints, parts of the body that we might not think about too much, like wrists and toes and fingers. They all need a little love and support too. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to finish up by just doing the left side. Pretty simple today, where we're just keeping it with one exercise, but it is such an effective exercise to really, again, start to bring awareness to how you're breathing, where you feel the engagement, and can you bring this sense of connection to pelvic floor, to your inner thighs, to pelvic floor, to abdominal muscles, and then noticing, especially when you're in that hands and knee position, are your back muscles trying to do more of the work as opposed to like your core being able to lift up. So we'll finish up with the ball in between the legs again, making sure this top hip isn't too rolled back. So you want to try to stack those hips. And if your ball is super inflated, sometimes you might need to take like a little bit of air out just so your legs aren't crazy wild in the air. All right, I'm going to bring my hands back onto the abdominal area, and let's start with the inhale. And then exhale, squeezing and engaging. And then we breathe in. Exhale. Really nice. I want you to continue this, but then bring your hand underneath the bottom side. When you exhale, notice those oblique connections starting to pull in. Really good. We'll take it one more time. Good. And then inhale, release. All right, grab your ball, go ahead and come all the way up. And then just finishing here in an upright position. So as we sit and we finish with just a little bit of focused breath work, this is going to be more specific to our pelvic floor muscles and how our diaphragm is moving and or not moving, okay? So each time that we breathe, our diaphragm, our core, and our pelvic floor are trying to work together as like this canister. So as we inhale, we get this downward pressure onto the pelvic floor, which is natural pressure. We want that. On the exhale, the pelvic floor comes back up into more of a resting tone. And so you're not going to be engaging. There's no gripping, but we just want to feel and see if we can bring our awareness to how the movement of our ribs, our diaphragm, our breath, can we feel any type of engagement and just sensation through the pelvic floor? And if you've never done this before, if you're like, I didn't even know where my pelvic floor was, all good. This is why we practice this, so that we just have a better relationship and understanding how our body's working. So I'm going to bring a hand onto like my rib belly area just so I can feel that movement through the ribs. And then letting our eyes gently close. You can see if you can let your shoulders just relax down your back. The other hand can rest onto knees or thighs. Or if you're really wanting to feel some extra engagement, you can even take your hands and kind of hold down into the pelvic floor area. You will feel those muscles kind of expand, contract. All right, so whatever you're comfortable with. If you take a breath in through your nose. And this time, just let the breath exhale softly. Breathing in. And gently releasing the exhale. So noticing as you breathe in, the sensation of lengthening, the gentle pressure down into the pelvic floor. And then exhaling. And it just feels a little bit like it's lifting up and away from the ground. Take that 2 more times. And last one. Wonderful. All right, we can let our eyes flutter back open. So I encourage you to play with this practice. It's a really good, it's a strengthening practice for the pelvic floor, for our core connection, for, all of the muscles that work to help support our core. But it's obviously not like high intensity, so we're not sweating as we do this, but it's a really good way to start to bring more awareness, more sensation, more connection to this area, especially if you are if you're having trouble with like doing some more advanced core engagement. You feel like, man, my back always hurts when I do it, or, I always see like my low belly puffing, poofing. We got to get back to the basics and really start to create a different strength and connection through these areas. And then you'll be able to rock those more advanced core workouts. Or if you're recovering from pregnancy, if you're a little bit further on your pregnancy and you're wanting to start to build into, your practices that you did before, this type of stuff is great to help support that. So I will see you next time. Thank you so much for being here.